Hey y'all! As you can see, we've gone through some changes here. So no better time than now than to cover the best music from one of the most transitional years in all of pop music, 1999. 99 is held up as a banner year among us pop music lovers, and from a quick glance at the hits, it's not difficult to see why. From a historical standpoint, there really seemed to be this universal understanding that yes, this was the last year of the freaking millennium. And yes, we've all got to make it the most extravagant send-off party as humanly possible. Hell, even Prince understood the significance of this moment a full 17 years prior. Then again, he was Prince, so make of that what you will. Of course, this moment of glorious excess did translate into a whole lot of trash, as my worst of 1999 hopefully demonstrated at least a little bit. But we're also talking about the pop music industry of the 90s here, wherein there was still a lot of money being churned into music production and avid pushes for as many young budding stars in the spotlight as humanly possible. I was only 7 years old when all this was occurring, but I definitely remember it all being just so colorful and vibrant and exciting, like, all the time. Probably no mere coincidence that this would be the first year that I started to actually pay attention to pop music and set on the path to becoming the oh-so-lovable nerd I am today. So let's just dive into it. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Even longer for this particular best list. Thank you very much for your patience. So I'd just like to remind y'all that my rules allow that any song cracking into the top 40 of the Hot 100 qualifies for this list. I like to cast a pretty wide net for potential outlooks on each year, and I think I've done a pretty alright job thus far. So as per tradition, let's start with the first of two sets of honorable mentions. No, I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Yeah, we're getting this one out of the way pretty dang early. You see, 1999 proved to be a bit of a test for me. A test to figure out if certain tunes I've heard a million times in my life were ones I genuinely, honestly loved, or if I simply felt obligated to love them because they've been a part of my musical DNA my whole life. Ultimately, I decided that No Scrubs fell into the latter category, though it's not to deny TLC's feisty attitude working in sweet harmony with that sparkly 90s production. Also gotta give a big shout out to Lisa Left Eye Lopez. Her rap bridge in the music video elevates this that much more. So, let me give you something to think about. Inundate your mind with intentions to turn you out. Justice for the pigeons, y'all. God, this song is fascinating. It's so remarkably sleazy and probably would have fallen completely on its face were it not for all those intriguing production elements that consistently steal center stage clean away from Jordan Knight. Those out-of-field Baroque pop elements are just so delightfully deranged. It's very funny, and I'm just so amused with every listen. At its core, it really is just a standard horny, try-hard solo debut from a former boy band member, but the sound is so incredibly awkwardly late 90s, I can't help but be charmed. Yeah, the difference between the baby noises in this song and the baby noises in that song whose name I can't be bothered to remember or research is that this song is actually good. It has character, charisma, swagger, not to mention that Aaliyah had such a talent for stealing center stage in damn near everything she ever touched. I mean, just listen to her. I hope you're responsible. Also, the single funniest fact about this is that it came to us courtesy of the Dr. Dolittle soundtrack. So yeah, do with that info as you will. Oh, do you believe in life after love? This actually was in my top 10 for quite a while, but, well, I've realized that this just no longer registers as a song to me. Rather, it's more like a towering entity that has been around my entire life and occasionally pops back into significance just for the hell of it. Don't get me wrong though, it's certainly a jam and hella influential. The poppy trance elements just soar, and it's an iconic ode to thriving after a messy breakup. It's a dance floor classic in all the best ways, and I'm very glad it exists. Was I out of my head? Was I out of my mind? How could I have ever been so blind? I was waiting for... So, I gotta admit, even after having been aware of this song for quite some time, I could never hear it quite the same again after, you know. Am I out of my head? Am I out of my mind? If you only knew the bad things I like. Anyway, what stands out for me these days is just how unusual of a structure this song has. Only one real verse and then a chorus which just repeats itself a few times, end scene. It's not a fault of the song, just interesting. I actually do really like that lovely gospel element to it. It really helps it stand out from the rest of its ilk. Plus, it's just so damn pretty. Yeah, good song. There was no way I could really justify placing this on my best list for any other reason except, well, this is catchy as all hell. Mariah has proved time and time again that she could absolutely nail these bubbly party atmospheres, and while this one is a tad shallower than, say, Emotions or Fantasy, it's still a damn fun time. Also, side note, Jay-Z's part may have been one of the very first rap verses I memorized. And side note, this is one of my favorite music videos of all time.
Excuse me,
If you had my love and I gave you all my trust, would you comfort me?
I've never thought Jennifer Lopez was a particularly compelling performer, but when given the right production atmosphere, these shortcomings become less of an issue, especially if she can really work the track. If You Had My Love is pretty freaking solid for her debut single, and additionally, it has some of my favorite instrumentation of this particular era of this particular genre. I'm absolutely addicted to that synthetic string backing. It simply captures the essence of Y2K pop so brilliantly. And yeah, this is a bop. I've also never loved Goo Goo Dolls. Their songs tend to not have quite enough punch in their hooks to appeal to me, though I'll accept that it's probably just a me thing. However, the song is, well, kinda devastating, as it largely revolves around the story of a woman with a heroin addiction. These lyrics are so chilling, and the musical backing is some of the most powerful I've ever heard from this band. It's the most that they've ever really intrigued me, and I highly recommend you check it out. I have a particular affinity for the Latin pop boom of the late 90s, and I think this is one of the most iconic outputs of the whole movement. Songs with giant hooks will always be a big plus for me, and this song just soars. The flamenco guitar is a great touch to the sound, and okay, yeah, Enrique has never ever been the best singer, but I don't mind it so much when the rest of it sounds so good. This is just really good pop music, plain and simple.
I would swallow my pride, I would choke on the rhymes, but the lack thereof will make me empty inside. I would swallow my doubt, turn it in.
At its surface, this kinda just sounds like your standard 90s alternative rock radio cut. But your standard 90s alternative rock radio cut doesn't tend to have lyrics like these.
I wanna put my tender heart in a blender, watch it spin round to a beautiful oblivion.
Yeah, it's all about the obscure metaphors with this one. Much of it doesn't make any sense, and yeah, maybe these guys were trying a bit too hard. But damn it, at least they're trying.
SoCal is where my mind states, but it's not my state of mind.
Like, yeah, this is kind of a nonsensical lyric at its core, but also, same man. I don't know, it's aged weirdly, but I'll still take it. Alright y'all, I hope you're as excited as I am. Time to finally cap off this magical sugar fest of a year. These are my top 10 best hit songs of 1999.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in
The summer of 1999. Gosh, what a time. Yeah, this was the year where I discovered pop music, and specifically pop music videos. There were a lot of flashy, colorful music videos being aired on MTV at this time, many of which would go on to become classics that we know and love to this day. Pretty funny then that one of the era songs that would leave one of the most lasting impressions on me is one that was filmed entirely in black and white. This song. What a unique, precious little gem of a song. Hey, did you know that Sugar Ray got their start as a nu metal band? Pretty wild, huh? Fly was actually a bit of an outlier on the album from whence it came, but after it catapulted the band into overnight success, they opted to keep going with that bright, sample-driven funk rock, a sound around which they'd soon build their name. Someday, however, is a little different. The hip-hop backbeat still remains, but the atmosphere overall is much more mellow and toned down, with a greater reliance on that dreamy guitar motif to keep things moving along. It fits into a groove with total immediacy and sticks to it the whole way through. By that token, it pretty much plays all its cards by around the halfway point. But it's also a vibe, so whatever.
Someone said you tried to
Though I will say that I have a particular soft spot for this bridge, which kind of sounds like they're taking fragments from other songs and fusing them into the beat. The end result feels like a series of conversations interrupting one another, and it's a neat, inspired little moment that upkeeps the subtly psychedelic nature of this tune. It's just so pleasant.
lay around and wonder why you were always there for me.
The subject matter dwells in a sort of anticipatory nostalgia, wherein the speaker imagines a future wherein he and his partner have withstood all their trials and tribulations and can finally be at peace, confident and secure in their lifelong bond. It's a bit of a strange outlook to build a song around, as it at least halfway presumes that the relationship isn't as secure as it stands now. At the same time, though, there's something a little bit admirable about that. It acknowledges that there will be moments where the relationship stumbles, where the two of them will be challenged, and the opportunity for working past these difficulties could spell the difference between perseverance and separation, which makes this envisioned future seem all the more blissful. We made it! We made it together!
When the sun begins to shine, I hear a song from another time.
But ultimately, beyond any other analysis, this just feels really nice to listen to. As the years turn into decades, Someday has become that song from another time, a symbol of a fleeting age of innocence and serene simplicity. And yeah, that just might be the bulk of the appeal for me, honestly. We don't get much music that sounds this sincere and unassuming these days. I mean, just look at these dudes, just chilling on the beach, vibing their hearts out. That's this whole song in a nutshell, and there's something really pure and beautiful about that. Yeah, it's all about the vibes, man, which notably makes much of the bread and butter feeling the popular music of 1999. But it was a diverse selection of vibes from a growing collection of budding bands and artists that brought their own unique sound to mainstream audiences. And even if these artists weren't particularly exceptional or groundbreaking, the songs they made were pretty special in their own way.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you.
Whew, okay, where to start? By 1999, Third Eye Blind were doing pretty well for themselves. Their breakthrough single Semi-Charmed Life was a top 5 hit and would eventually come to be the group's signature song. And it's not hard to see how. It's energetic, hook-heavy, and an undeniable staple at karaoke bars to this very day. But yet Semi-Charmed Life also demonstrates an irresistible pairing of catchy, infectious melody with a much darker lyrical underbelly.
Smiling in the pictures you would take. Doing crystal meth will lift you up until you break, it won't stop.
Yep, this super bouncy song is actually about a destructive meth addiction. Incredible. A similar juxtaposition of light and dark can certainly be said for Jumper, the band's second top 10 hit, which instead revolves around the topic of, well, just read the title and fill in the blanks yourself.
If you do not want to see me again, I would understand.
I don't want to make this segment a particularly heavy one though, because, well, that's not really what the song is going for in the first place. In actuality, while the scenario of suicidal ideation is carved out initially, the rest of the lyrics paint a broader picture of alienation and rejection, with the speaker working as an outside party to offer a message of hope and persistence to, well, whoever may be listening. It's very blunt and forward with how it delivers its message, but not for no good reason, as these feelings of depression and hopelessness are something that I think everyone endures at some point in their life. Singer Stephen Jenkins offers no easy answers for the listener, but what he does offer is support, the reassurance that the option to walk away from whatever ails you for your own benefit does in fact exist. And sometimes that's all you need to hear to get you to step away from that metaphorical ledge. As I implied earlier, this falls in line with those dime a dozen tunes from '99 that stayed super catchy despite not really setting itself apart sonically from its peers. This just kind of sounds like the rest of what was playing on alternative rock radio in this time. But I will say, there's one particular aspect of this that stands out to me personally, and that's the instrumental bridge. Here, the band pulls back from the momentum they built upon and works on this more spacious, even funkier groove than what had come previously. There are whispers of that guitar riff, but nothing particularly prominent. They're just kinda easing along, letting the cool, collected energy of the sonic environment take control for a little while. Some signs of life peer their way in little by little. And then... they explode outward once again in an invigorating, cathartic, emotional rush. That guitar riff now takes center stage, and boy is it a sight to behold. This whole bit honestly pushes the song over the edge for me. It's one of the greatest musical moments of the year, and it drives the message home that much more concretely. It's a terrific pairing of light and dark that could have only come from the late 90s alt-rock scene. Hell yeah. Now, here's a question. Do you like butter tarts?
I was lying on the grass of Sunday morning of last week, indulging in my self-defeat.
I gotta re-emphasize that the summer of 1999 really was something else entirely. Every pop song around this time was just so vibrant and arresting, with a pronounced youthful energy to it all. And an excellent mirroring of this sunny innocence can be found in Len's Steal My Sunshine, particularly its intro.
Hey Matt.
Yeah, Sam.
Hey, you talked to Mark lately?
I haven't really talked to him, but he looks pretty down.
He looks pretty.
God, this intro alone just blows my mind. It's so legendary. It feels like I'm witnessing candid, completely unfiltered documentary-style audio of actual young folks from '99. The rest of the song is pretty cute too, I guess. I don't actually know a whole lot about Len, except, well, they're Canadian, and a one-hit wonder. Steal My Sunshine is a hell of a one-hit to have, though. It brilliantly samples the instrumental break from Andrea True's disco classic More, 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 and the song itself is just as breezy as its predecessor, a perfect depiction of those happy-go-lucky days deep into the heart of the summertime. Unlike Jumper, which uses its bright, catchy atmosphere as a vessel for lyrics about depression and alienation, Steal My Sunshine, well...
I was lying on the grass of Sunday morning of last week, indulging in my self-defeat. And of course you can't become if you only say what you would have done. So I missed a million miles of fun.
I lied, it does exactly this as well. Yeah, as sunny as the song is on the surface, this is yet another tune with a slightly more morbid subtext, as the performers are trapped in the perpetual angst of young adulthood, flavored by lingering feelings of insufficiency as they navigate the world around them with a particular overwhelming clumsiness. Or at least I think that's what this song is about. Honestly, a good fraction of these lyrics feel like a reverse-translated mess of half-formed stoner phrases that get across the idea of its themes without ever being fully coherent. Like, does anyone actually know what this means?
Now the funny clear to pain, leave me tearing, staring underneath, involved in unusual feet.
Or hell, even the chorus for that matter.
I know it's done for me.
If you steal my sunshine,
Not some and hard to see.
What does Steal My Sunshine even mean in any of these contexts? The world may never know, and honestly, I really like it that way. This song is great because there's nothing else quite like it. It's a tune that's fully enveloped in its own little universe, detached from, or perhaps even fully unaware of the world outside of its 4-minute runtime. It's just that spry and carefree. But then again, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's a direct, accurate reflection of the lighthearted sensibility that permeated throughout the pop culture of the 90s, fully condensed and presented in as pure and unblemished of a package as humanly possible. I could only hope so. And now, how about we switch gears into another song that brilliantly reflected the world in which it lived, though with a different end goal in mind than the last one.
guys, you know you better watch out. Some girls are only about.
God, Lauryn Hill is so freaking talented. Can I just end it there? Is that okay? Alright, fine, I'll elaborate. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was such a game changer of an album. As Hill's debut solo effort after splitting with the Fugees, this record is an excellent spread of social commentary and themes of love and spirituality, set to the tune of an exquisite blending of neo-soul, hip-hop, and reggae elements. There are a number of highlights on this record. I couldn't possibly single out just one. But yeah, Doo-Wop That Thing was the lead single and big chart topper from the album. And it's not hard to see how this grabbed listeners so immediately. It was the first time the world heard what a Lauryn Hill first and foremost single would be, and boy is it glorious. It's so jazzy and energetic, overflowing with the absolute hippest vibes. And that chorus too. Smooth as butter. But what is that thing anyway? Well, this is where we get to the crux of the song. In the first verse, Hill paints the scenario of a woman who's feeling down after she's ghosted by a man with whom she had a one-night stand. Hill laments with these women's frustrations while also emphasizing the importance of not selling herself so short, nor degrading herself for the attention of this one or any man.
And plus when you give it up so easy, you ain't even fooling him. If you did it then you probably fuck again. You know I only said cause I'm truly genuine. Don't be a hard rock when you really are a gem, baby.
And I know how this sounds. Women breaking other women down. Not exactly the most feminist situation on the surface. But then we reach the second verse.
The second verse is dedicated to the man more concerned with his rims and his Timbs and his women.
Wherein Hill shifts the focus on men who use their wealth as a status symbol while coming up short on the relationship side of things. So that thing is sex. But it's also money, status, social capital, etc. Anything for which one person could use another for their own personal benefit. By these means, Hill emphasizes the responsibility both parties of a relationship hold to remain fair and committed to one another. And it's a pretty universal message at that, one intended to uplift the entire community Hill is a part of. While listening to the song, I couldn't help but draw a contrast to one of my worst hit songs of 2003. In I Can, Nas professes a similar end goal of reaching out to members of his community and emphasizing that they make strong decisions to improve their future livelihood. The biggest problem here, however, is that he places the burden on very young people for their own ill-informed decisions. There are obviously larger systems to be blamed here, but Nas instead chooses to cast judgment on an extremely vulnerable population for the sake of his preachy pop hit. On the other hand, Hill, as tough as she can be, comes from a place of understanding, even admitting that she herself had been caught in similar dilemmas.
Now, Lauryn is only human. Don't think I haven't been through the same predicament.
She's not judging nor infantilizing these subjects, she's humanizing them and emphasizing with them to the best of her ability. Also helped that she's addressing, adults and not actual children, but I digress. Long story short, well, believe me when I say a song like this could not have come out today with as warm a reception as it got in '99. With its treatment of both men and women as equal autonomous parties, it's fiercely radical by its very nature, and sounds fantastic to boot. Also, no one knows how to have nuanced adult conversations about these things anymore, so there's that too. Anyway, how about a nice little love song? We can all agree with those, right?
Kiss me.
If the sound of doo-wop, That Thing, is like butter, Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer is like the smell of fresh grass, or a brand new morning's dew. It starts off good, and then it gets even better. Just want to say real quick that I don't know much about Sixpence None the Richer, except that they are maybe a Christian band. This one's gonna be pretty basic because, well, it's just a pretty straightforward love song. The lyrics are sweet, but with an air of earnest simplicity that feels ripped straight from some teenager's notebook of amateur poetry, emphasized by the delectably wholesome performance by vocalist Lee Nash.
Strike up the band and make the fireflies dance, silver moon sparkling.
There's nothing too deep going on here. She's dreaming about a kiss from the person she's infatuated with, the kind of kiss that'll strike up the band and make the fireflies dance. And I say person because my own personal headcanon is that she's singing to a lady.
Swing the spinning step, you wear those shoes and I will wear that dress. Bring your flowered hat.
I mean, these are requests that could only come from one woman to another. It's just facts. Kiss Me is a sapphic anthem now, I said so. But like I said, it's a pretty uncomplicated ballad, and that's what I love so much about it. It's strung along by a clean, delicate instrumental that matches the sparkling chastity of its lyrics. The jangly guitar riff feels like it was pulled straight from a balmy forest, providing the song with an excellent organic atmosphere that, nonetheless, still feels so very 90s pop rock. Additionally, well, there are a lot of sounds and moments from this year that have been fully encoded in my DNA from decades of listening and re-listening to these songs. The Andrea True sample in Steal My Sunshine is one example. The chorus of Someday is another one. And this particular moment from Kiss Me.
So kiss me.
Another one. God, that accordion bit transports me way back to childhood each and every single time. What an adorable song. And that's another thing too. This song is so very twee, but never feels overwhelming in that regard. None of the emotions here are overwhelming at all, actually. There's no talk of lifetime commitment with this other person, or even any acknowledgement of any world outside of that which the song carves for itself. It's very much in the moment. Nothing exists right now except this tire swing and me alone with you. And for now, that's all that matters.
So kiss me.
And now for the top half of the list, the truly great tracks that made this whole year more than worth rediscovering. Starting off with one of the most personally hard-hitting songs on this entire list. This one caught me off guard, man. God, TLC are just so amazing. I mean, in this year alone, they gave us what's universally considered one of the quintessential hits of this year and probably this decade. But as you can see, that's not the song that's listed here. I mean, say what you will about No Scrubs, it certainly deserves it. But it's just not quite Unpretty. Unpretty is led by an inspired juxtaposition between Chili and T-Bots' vocals, with T-Bots humming the verses, Chili taking the pre-chorus, and the both of them teaming up for the chorus. Both of them are so fantastic here, but I don't know, I think the pre-chorus is where the heart of the song lies. In this song, the ladies sing from the perspective of a woman who is tormented by her personal insecurity, this exacerbated by the pressure put onto her by her partner, who presumably demands that she physically present herself in a way that's suitable for him.
Never insecure until I met you. Now I'm stupid. I used to be so cute to me.
It's a really sad premise, and something that a lot of people go through, unfortunately. The pressure to hold on to the person you've grown so close to, and the willingness to make yourself smaller in order to do so. When Lauryn Hill urges women to put their own self-worth before that of any man, this is the demographic whom she is speaking to.
You can buy all the makeup the man can make, but if
This is TLC's try at an empowerment anthem, a genre song that usually falters in its heavy-handed message. But instead of forcibly trying to motivate the listener into feeling better about themselves, the approach TLC takes is one of empathy. They acknowledge no one is truly alone in their feelings and experiences, while not really having a concrete answer on how to change their situation. But sometimes, the recognition alone is life-changing. And initially, it did seem very much like this was explicitly speaking to girls and women weighed down by the cruelty of their partners. But then I heard one particular line in the song, and that caused my interpretation of these lyrics to shift a bit.
why do I look to all these things to keep you happy?
See, the you in this line could be referring to her significant other, or it could be referring to herself. After all, we do get a hint in the first verse that these frustrations are at least partially internal.
Look into the mirror, who's inside there? The one with the long hair. Same old me again today.
Indeed, the issue of negative body image is one that is especially familiar to so many girls and women. I mean, it's certainly been a personal anxiety of mine for damn near my entire life. And even if nowadays I know a lot better, can see through the propaganda of Western beauty standards and reject them for what they are, there will always be a subconscious part of me that is literally brainwashed by this culture. As a result, the journey to self-love or even just self-acceptance has been nothing short of an uphill battle. And I could only imagine that the stigma runs even deeper for Black women, for whom this battle extends back to the very right to exist. It's frustrating, angering, depressing. Which makes TLC's figurative hug of a song all the more important. It's a gorgeous piece of work that speaks to a particular truth that few other songs of its class would dare do. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Looking by your hair, it won't grow. Perfection knows the disaster.
But you know, I gotta emphasize, all the love for No Scrubs as well. Girl power R&B pop at its absolute coolest for sure. But as I mentioned earlier, a big challenge for me was separating the nostalgic faves from the ones I truly marvel at to the present day. And sometimes, nostalgia wins.
Scar tissue that I wish you saw.
In the wide universe of Red Hot Chili Peppers tracks, Scar Tissue specifically holds a special little place in my heart because, well, it was the first song from the band I ever heard. I have pretty specific memories of watching this music video as a kid and wondering how in the world that guy could play with a half-beaten up guitar. Nonetheless, I've never been too big of a Pepperhead. They've just never ever been my thing. But even with bands and artists I don't particularly enjoy that much, I will always be willing to admit when something of theirs hits. And boy, does this hit hard.
Scar tissue that I wish you saw. Sarcastic, Mr. Know It.
Thematically, this is a song that deals with the struggles faced by addicts on their road to sobriety, using the metaphor of scar tissue as a symbol of healing that still hints at past pain and trauma. And yeah, this is something that is all too familiar in the Red Hot Chili Peppers story. One prominent detail in the history of the band is that most of their members have a storied history of drug abuse and addiction, which colors much of their early career. The release of their Californication album introduced a more polished, radio-friendly sound, which echoes the members' arduous journey in kicking their habits. This repeated line that makes up the chorus carries the crux of the song's message.
With the birds that shed its lonely view.
It's such a poignant bit of imagery, a small scattering of birds soaring amongst a desolate sky, feeling separate and independent from the world around them, but also isolated, lonely, even alienated by virtue of their unique position. And this runs parallel to overcoming something as traumatic as drug addiction. The desperation to heal for oneself, saddled with the inevitable social ostracization that comes with this less favorable element of their past. It's pretty heartbreaking, and yet...
Autumn sweet wind, call it fall out, make it to the moon, never have to crawl in.
A glimmer of hope does remain. The road to recovery may in fact be as excruciating as an eternity's crawl to happiness, but each little step contributes to a larger picture of progress, as grim as it can seem at times. All that said, I truly believe the heart and soul of this song lies in one John Frusciante. For a bit of background, Frusciante initially jumped on the Peppers in their early years and helped bring them to mainstream success, after which he became overwhelmed by said success, quit the band, and became lost in a long period of heroin addiction. He cleaned up just before rejoining for Californication, and this knowledge instills that much more weight to the instrumentation of Scar Tissue. You can feel this weight right from the opening notes. In contrast to the wilder funk rock from which the group had made a name for themselves, this song immediately hints at a move to a smoother, more melodic sound. It's clean and polished, and yet also so melancholic. He gets a couple instrumental breaks throughout the song, working as short palate cleansers from Anthony Kiedis' grimmer depictions of addiction. These breaks are quite lovely for sure, but it's the solo of the song's outro that absolutely kills. You can just feel the pain, the deep mourning of years lost to drug addiction and reclusivity, radiating off each one of these guitar notes, and goddamn is it powerful. And it's such poignant moments like these that elevate this song past that nostalgic fondness. The emotional weight in Scar Tissue is among some of the finest I've ever heard from the band, and I'll always appreciate it for that. Well, we've been on the heavy side for a while, so how about we lighten things up a bit? I'm pretty much legally obligated to mention this song anyway, so count me in, bro. Yeah, obvious pick is obvious. It's one of those instant pop smashes that both feels like it could have existed since the beginning of pop music itself, while also being extremely, inextricably linked to 1999 as a whole. I mean, to me, this has always felt like the definitive end credit song. The song that plays out the characters after all their hard times have passed. And what was the Y2K era in pop music but the shiniest, most outrageous end credits sequence fathomable? If it had truly been the end of the world that everybody was predicting at that time, I could think of no better song to play us all out than this one. God, I mean, this is just really good pop rock. The pleasant vibes radiate from this one from the very start, with the pianos and drums establishing such a delicious energy, aided by the occasional guitar washes and subtle keyboard elements sprinkled within. And of course, there's a charismatic Greg Alexander, whose mere presence just about makes this track. I know this is gonna sound really weird, but he's always come off a bit Mick Jagger-ish to me. I'm not talking about that uber masculine Jagger swagger or anything, more like he's got a similar control over his voice and the emotional power contained within. Also like Mick, you just can't look away from this guy. I mean, he never sings this song completely straight, always throwing in these little nuances and vocalizations that keep everything on its toes. Like this part, for example. He didn't really need to add that high note at the end there. It probably would have worked just fine without it. But it also adds just the right amount of spiciness to really make this song shine. Also, where he holds this note for just a bit too long. Now say you're mine. Once again, he probably doesn't need to go the extra mile like that, but he does, and it makes this bridge all the more stronger and definitely more memorable. I'm such a sucker for hook-driven pop music, and this song has a handful of really great ones, so yeah, this was always going to be absolute candy for the ears. It's such a tightly structured song, not a single second is wasted in its whole 5-minute runtime. I love it so much. I know that I called this a good vibe song at the start, and while I still claim that to be true, I should also mention that this would have only been the case with a careful dose of reality. These lyrics are notably cynical, fully aware of the stink and corruption all around. Criminal wealth disparity, political scandal, vapid celebrity culture, coming of age in a world that doesn't care whether we live or die, yet expects us to kneel in submission and smile with every punch we take. And yet, this is why we must live on. With as powerful as Jumper's best moments can be, even its strongest declarations couldn't pull me out of a depressive episode quite effectively as the line, "You've got the music in you" does. It's simple, but speaks to a larger truth of each one of us being a part of something bigger than ourselves, something that we may not ever truly fathom. We might have the dreamer's disease, but at least we're fighting for something, even if that something is mere survival. And it's really cool to hear that validated in a song like this. It's good vibes with a purpose, and that is just the coolest thing ever. Hell yeah. Now, how does one transition from one of the most iconic anthems of the entire 90s to a dreary ballad centered around a toxic relationship? I guess you just do.
It could all be so simple.
God, Lauryn Hill is so freaking talented. No, I've got much more to say. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill was released in 1998, it being 22-year-old Hill's debut solo album and the first the world was to hear her separate from the rest of the Fugees. Through its nearly 1.5-hour runtime, it swirls through a variety of themes, namely womanhood, motherhood, religion, and especially love. Namely, the album is a declaration of independence by Hill, both from her past hip-hop group and in a much more personal way. And you get the gist of this right from the get-go.
It's funny how money changes situation. Miscommunication lead to complication.
Lauryn opens up her album with Lost Ones, a terrifically spicy diss track to her former partner Wyclef Jean, also of the Fugees. Fueled by bombastic, jazz-tinged production, Lauryn fires off on a mile-per-minute kiss-off. She absolutely exudes confidence and rides this beat like it's no one's business. It's really great. And then she follows it up with X Factor.
But you'd rather make it hard.
This song follows through with that second part of the breakup dichotomy. As freeing as it could be to escape from a relationship that didn't work out, as blissful as those moments of being single and wishing one's ex a liberating fuck you very much are, there's also the hurt, the regret, the painful memories that are still fresh in one's mind after the ties have been broken. X Factor's production is so somber, led by twinkling pianos, down-tempo bass, and a repeated deep drum motif that pounds into my heart with every occurrence.
No matter how I think we grow, you always.
And that's not the only way the song switches things up. The fiery power of Lost Ones compels you to bop along with Lauren because she sounds so cool, and it's always fun to kiss off at a good-for-nothing ex-partner. In X Factor, on the other hand, Lauren still sounds gorgeous and confident, but with her performance here, you can feel the heavy betrayal tinted in every note she sings. She consistently sounds like she's on the verge of tears, drawing from a well of recollections of just how bad it had gotten, and trying her hardest to maintain her sense of dignity as she does so. And while Lost Ones paints itself as a battle between two parties, with Lauren very eagerly rising up as the obvious victor, in reality, it's never quite so triumphant. I mean, she even says it herself.
Loving you is like a battle, and we both end up with scars.
Ultimately, in toxic relationships, regardless of who is wrong or right in whatever situation arises, no one wins, and both parties leave with a missing part of themselves that can never be replaced. Lauren tells her side of the story here, spilling her extremely raw feelings all over this track. It's painfully intimate, and for the many who have felt the cycles of partner abuse, so stunningly real. One of my favorite parts about this song has got to be how she initially presents the pre-chorus from within the relationship, inquiring to her partner how she must change herself to get the love and respect she desires from him.
Tell me who I have to get so reciprocity. See, no one loves you more than me, and no one ever will.
Only to then revise this later on, singing from the painful moment she realizes this reciprocity will never be attained, especially since the damage he's done to her is damn near irreparable.
See, I know what we've got to do. You let go, and I'll let go too. 'Cause no one's hurt me more than you, and no one ever will.
The way she flips those last two lines especially breaks my heart every single time. And then, of course, there's the breakdown. In just a few repeated lines, Hill reverts from her brutal honesty of the past verses and instead pulls everything back in an act of simplification that is still just as powerful as what had come before. These lines especially kill me.
Cry for me. You said you'd die for me. Give to me, give to me. Why won't you live for me?
Because what good are empty romantic sentiments like "I would die for you" when they aren't followed up by a genuine respect and tenderness for the one you supposedly love? It's performative at best and emotionally abusive at worst. And God, this all hits like a fucking sledgehammer. The miseducation in the album title is a direct implication of wrong that had been done in the past, a newly attained knowledge either about Lauryn Hill herself or about the world around her, and a fresh growth from this, a reincarnation if you will. And among such miseducation is that within the context of relationships, namely the assumption that certain kinds of pain and trauma are acceptable, even to be expected from someone you love, which is so absolutely wrong. No one who loves you should ever make you feel so small, so powerless. And by Lauren speaking so directly to the one who's hurt her the most, she breathes truth into the countless others who find or have found themselves in similar predicaments. It's an excruciating but necessary truth, and I am so damn thankful this exists. All the love to you, girl. And with that, we've reached the final stretch. What do you think number one is? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. Time to roll out the rest of these honorable mentions. Yeah, this was yet another entry in that I love this because I grew up with this phenomenon. It feels weird to keep it in honorable mentions, but not as weird as having it in the actual list, so whatever. Still one of the best choruses of the year, and that 3-note riff, you know the one. Monumental. I hope Britney is doing okay, by the way.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand.
Had to give some love to the song since Billboard just didn't. Seriously, a number 9 peak feels so wrong for this one. I'll repeat that I'm not too hot on Goo Goo Dolls, but this song is among their very best. One hell of a melody line, the string backing is cool, and this instrumental break. Breathtaking.
Tell me why ain't nothing but a party. Tell me why.
At At this song's least impressive moments, it's just another boy band ballad. But when it shines, boy does it shimmer. Every note of this damn song is burned into my soul, but that just makes me vibe with the uber cheesiness all the more, and I kinda love it. And yeah, I'm not the first to say that these lyrics make no sense, but at a certain point, it kinda doesn't matter. Backstreet Boys are exactly like Cocktail Twins, if you think about it. Much like with Someday, this is another song that kinda just rides along its groove for the bulk of its length. It's a nice groove though. Never cared for this band outside of this song, but they really tapped into something quite beautiful with these soft chords and mellow progression. And also, I know this part is overblown and kinda corny, but also, man, it gets me every time.
Waiting for tonight. Oh, when you would be here in my arms.
I'm pretty fond of If You Had My Love, but I think I like Waiting for Tonight just a little bit more. This tropical Latin sound melds excellently with this club atmosphere, and it's such a good mood each and every time. J-Lo still isn't a great singer, and I often wonder how much more this would soar coming from someone with real pipes like Mariah or Whitney. Oh well, a person can dream. Hey, you know what else isn't in my top 10?
And it's just like the ocean under the moon. It's the same as the emotion that I get from.
Yeah, this was never gonna make my list, to be frank. Not sure if it would even make my best of 2000 either. It's fine, but like, it kind of baffles me that so many people consider this one of the greatest pop songs ever, when to me, it was just kind of one of those overplayed songs from my childhood I admittedly took for granted. It's super solid, yeah, but not much more than that in my opinion. Santana absolutely shreds though, that I'll give y'all.
If you were worried about where I've been or who I saw, what club I went to with my homie.
Calling this a hit is really pushing it, I'm aware, but still, I couldn't not give it a mention here. The Roots instrumental is just so lush and gorgeous, pairing extremely well with Erykah Badu being absolutely tremendous in her own right. Black Thought and Eve absolutely carry these verses and do a great job at that. This is just warm honey in song form with just a squeeze of lemon. Please check it out.
Do you have an opinion? A mind of your own?
And now here, I'll do a little something different. Yep, it's time for the non-hit portion of the honorable mentions. Yay! Garbage were really solid in their heyday, and while it's hard to pick a favorite song of theirs, this is way up there. Shirley Manson absolutely pours her heart out in this one, and I've always really loved their melding of alternative rock with electro dance elements. This is one of those sing loudly in your room kind of bangers. Check it out. I have a special place in my heart for 90s grunge, and that includes Hole. Celebrity Skin isn't as ambitious as Live Through This, one of my very favorite albums, but Malibu is such a tune. Those jangle guitars are gorgeous, and Courtney Love sings these lyrics with such pronounced passion. Once you know what the song's about though, it gets that much more heart-wrenching. Brilliant stuff from the group's post-peak period.
Fast as you can, baby, run, free yourself up as fast as you can.
Fiona Apple is brilliant. Every song of hers is imbued with the furious, fiery energy that is entirely her own. Fast As You Can is yet another example of this. I just love the stop-start energy of this tune, working along a handful of emotional movements that drive the song in such interesting ways. Like I said, she's brilliant.
No hesitation is gone. It'll really gravitate.
I was practically raised on No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom and Return to Saturn, and New is a song I've always loved. It finds the group moving in a more poppier direction, but still holding firm to their pop-punk roots and crafting such a bop as a result. In particular, I am obsessed with this build-up after the intro.
Don't let it go away.
The chorus is also likely one of my favorites of No Doubt's whole career. It's a banger. Check it out.
We fell in love in the key of C.
I'm generally not super into Wilco and other artists of their ilk, but A Shot in the Arm is kinda devastating. Through some obscure poetry, it tells of a crumbling relationship by way of some grim imagery of drug abuse, implying that these two work hand in hand. There are some really interesting sonic textures working within this song, adding much to this dark atmosphere and resulting in something that is just so damn unsettling. It's one of those understated type of songs that never seem they knock you off your feet until they do.
But don't worry, don't panic.
And finally, this. Now, this song is the purest encapsulation of what I assume the party scene of 1999 sounded and felt like. It's wild, vibrant, and absolutely full of life. Nothing but hooks on hooks with this one, and yeah, that's exactly what we could all use now and again. Give this one a listen, have a great time. And speaking of a great time, the moment has come, my #1 song of the wild, wacky, wonderful year of 1999. What could it be? Well, I've mentioned this time and time again in this video, and I'll mention it once more here. 1999 tested my ability to rely on my own nostalgic bias as little as possible and truly, faithfully listen to my heart when prioritizing these selections. By my very nature, much of how I feel about music is driven by my emotions, which is fine, but I'm always up for a good challenge, and 99 was exactly this. With that said, there was one song from this year that reached that healthy, satisfying compromise, and I knew it was going to be my #1 from day one. So let's not waste any more time. Hit it. First of all, go watch the legendary music video for this song on your own time. It's absolutely iconic and still so very funny. Anyway, yeah, nostalgia time. This song was, I think, the first I ever heard from the Foo Fighters, and yeah, even when I was the mere age of 7, I knew this song was something special. It just had that certain ear-catching quality that you only ever get every once in a while, the kind that even 7-year-olds can latch onto. And to this day, yeah, this is probably one of their very best hooks. As an adult though, man does this resonate even harder. Like, so much harder. Similarly to Scar Tissue, Learn to Fly comes at a particular crossroads in the life of the Foo Fighters, mainly for leading man Dave Grohl. Having several years under his belt as a prominent figure in the scene, he's now coming to realize that, well, some changes need to be made. And it's a tale as old as time. The dream of a rock star lifestyle, as wild and fantastic as it could be, eventually resulting in a wealth of setbacks, namely the inherently hedonistic, substance-driven life that has pushed many a figure on a downward spiral to their eventual demise.
Put me up a new revolution. This one is a lie. Sat around laughing and watched the last one die.
This line in particular speaks to that very point. What good is a quote-unquote revolution when we have to watch our friends fall victim to its violence time and time again? It's tragic and tiresome, and it's time to move on. So that's what the song is about. A plea to oneself to turn their life around, to escape from the wearisome prison we often find ourselves in, to make a change for the better. It's never too late to do so. All you have to do is try. And with that thematic push behind it, I'll say that this is probably Foo Fighters' most uplifting song, much of this helped by the rip-roaring guitars and impassioned vocal delivery throughout. It's so good. I've got to give huge props to the drum work by the late Taylor Hawkins though. I have only a handful of artists whose drumming I can say I truly paid attention to as a kid, and Hawkins on this song in particular was one of them. The drumming on the verses are quiet, minimal, perhaps even sputtering, trying to find some sense of stability and rhythm. But then the way he transitions from these verses to the chorus is just... The way the drums just jump onto their feet and drive along so naturally and triumphantly, leading into that brilliant chorus, so good. It mirrors the message of the song so well, with the verses particularly defined by the prominent insecurity, and the chorus taking a more uplifting turn, truly the heart and soul of the song. And like, this song does speak to me quite a bit, but maybe not in the way that you're thinking. See, I'm about to turn 31. I've spent the past year coming to terms with the fact that I'm simply no longer in my 20s. My most youthful days are far behind me, and I could never turn back time, only move forward. The best I can do is look back on the media that spoke to me as a kid, but that's only a mere shred of solace. And boy, has that been a struggle to deal with. But a necessary struggle. It made me realize that there are certain aspects of myself that I've always been unhappy with, and if I want to change these for the better, basically it's now or never. Stuff like bad personal habits, better relationships, gender identity, etc. And the process of making these moves is really scary, but once again, so very necessary. It's a part of growing up. It's a part of living. The birds may share a lonely view, but it's a hell of a liberating one as well. The best we can possibly do in this world is try to find our own wings, any which way we can. And for speaking to this necessary, powerful truth, there's no doubt in my mind that Learn to Fly by Foo Fighters is the best hit song of 1999. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.
Make my way back